Hey YouTube, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Calvin Lim Investing. As usual, I'm your host Calvin, and today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of social media companies. We're going to take a look at Snapchat, Pinterest, and Facebook. Three of them have reported earnings in the last 2 weeks, with Pinterest and Facebook reporting in the last couple of days. And we're just going to kind of look at their charts and get a better grasp of what's going on. As you know, Facebook reported earnings today. They did really well. They're jumping up after hours, so we're kind of going to go through the three companies, sort of where they're at and what I think they're headed in the future, and some of the things I like about each company. With that being said, before we get started, if you could show your support, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, I would really appreciate it. On another note, my friends and I also have a Discord that's available to the public. You can scroll down, there's a link in the description. You can just head on over and feel free to hop into the Discord and ask us questions and get to know the rest of the team. Finally, I can't preach this enough, but always remember to do your own research and due diligence before you begin to invest. So with that, let's get started. So first off, we're going to take a quick look at Facebook. So as you can see, Facebook is up almost $20 after hours. They're soaring. Let's see if they have any information. Let's see. Okay. So revenue for Facebook came in at 26.17 billion versus 23.72 billion estimated. So they beat by almost $2.5 billion. Their advertising revenue came in about 2.17 billion more than estimated. So most of the difference in revenue came from, in fact, it did come from advertising. They beat by about 70 cents on the earnings per share level, and the daily active users, which is extremely surprising, was 1.88 billion versus 1.866 billion, which was sort of the expected range. So it was about, I guess, about a nice solid beat in the daily active users. The monthly active users, 2.85 versus 2.83, another nice number. So I think in terms of Facebook, they did everything well. And remember, Facebook does own Instagram and WhatsApp and some other platforms. So in my opinion, I don't see that Facebook is being used or as popular as before, but Instagram is more popular than ever, and WhatsApp is still pretty prevalent. And I think Instagram specifically goes to provide a lot of revenue. Let's see. Facebook also expects revenue growth to remain stable or modestly accelerate. So yeah, basically, the new buy rating came out for 358. So basically, Facebook had glowing numbers across the board. They've been trading in a trend. They've been trending up ever so slowly. So I do really like Facebook and where they're headed, and I think that the stock could go upwards of 350 in the next 6 months. I don't know if it's going to really run per se, but I do think that Facebook has a chance to experience some potential upside in their stock in the medium term. But I think Facebook still has a long way to go, and specifically speaking, the Facebook platform itself has a long way to go before it begins to attract a wider audience. I think a lot of the revenue from Facebook currently is coming from Instagram, or a lot of the traffic is coming through Instagram, because for the more or the better core of the techie type of generation, I feel like they're all on Instagram. You know, I'm on Instagram on the daily. Everyone is, so gives you a sense. All right, next thing we're gonna look at is gonna be Pinterest. So Pinterest reported yesterday, and they're down about $11 today, almost 15%. And let's see. Okay, so Pinterest, they made 485 million. They beat forecast by 11 million. Nothing crazy, but for a stock that's only making 485 million, and an $11 million beat is pretty significant. But where Pinterest got hurt was that the monthly active users was only about 478 million. Analysts expected over 480 million. This 2.5 million difference was the main significant factor in terms of causing Pinterest stock to drop by a large amount. And it's not the be-all end-all, but I do think user growth for Pinterest is especially important because of where it's at this stage. You know, for every 10 users, you might convert 1 or 2 into revenue at best. So, you know, the bigger your user base is, the more potential to generate revenue and really generate ad revenue. So, but I am pretty bullish on Pinterest. I don't think this article mentions it. Let me see if I can find an article that mentions it. But basically, what's happening with Pinterest is that the revenue per user is expected. Let's see. No, I guess I can't find this article that I read the other day. But basically, what they said is that Pinterest, although they're falling short in the user growth department, the revenue per user has definitely slightly increased. So they're doing a better job of monetizing users. Finally, we're gonna take a look at Snapchat. So Snapchat's up a little bit. They reported a couple days ago. You can see they had a little spike. They were down to about 58. They came back up. They had a solid but unspectacular earnings. They're worth almost 100 billion at this point. Their revenue was $2.5 billion. Actually, that's pretty wild. Let's see. Let's pull up the information. So, okay. So Snap earnings, they broke even on the EPS, so that people or analysts expected them to operate earnings per share be a negative, and they were flat. They beat revenue by 27 million, and the average daily active users, they beat predictions by 4.4 million, which is pretty good in comparison though. Let's try to pull up pins actually, so we can get a good comparison side by side. So pins is worth not even 50 billion, while Snap is worth 94 billion, right? So I mean, the big difference was in terms of the revenue, but Snapchat has about 200 million less daily active users than Pinterest. So, which leads me to believe that Snap is doing something really, really well and sort of using that smaller user base and really monetizing it. So I do like Snapchat and what they're doing, and I have seen a small revival of Snapchat. I know the app was kind of dead for a little bit, and then kind of had a second coming. You know, it's been a lot more popular of late. I actually used Snapchat when it first came out way back, in like the 2013, 2014 era. It was cool. It was neat. I am not an active user on Snapchat these days, but based off of their fundamentals, I do think they are doing pretty well in selling ad space, and that's their main source of revenue. So, I think they're going to be their ability to retain users, but also how to continue to drive up monetization. And I think this ad space market is pretty crowded at the moment. You have YouTube, Google, you have all these other media and digital companies. There is going to be a lot of competition, so I'm not going to be investing in Snapchat at the moment. I may invest in Pinterest only because it dropped a little bit, but I'm mainly going to try to stay on the sidelines and really watch these two companies in the near future to see where they kind of end up in the next 6 months to a year. If anything, I will probably invest. I'm more likely to invest in Pinterest at the moment than Snapchat, because Pinterest does have 200 million more users at the moment, and they haven't figured out how to monetize them the way Snapchat has been able to sort of use its platform and generate revenue. So if I were to invest one, I would like Pinterest, but at this point I'm sort of just going to stay on the sidelines. And that's on that note, that's just kind of my quick take on the 3 social media companies that reported in the last week and change. We do have Twitter reporting tomorrow. I am holding or I do have a couple of plays with Twitter, so I'll be keeping a close eye on Twitter's earning reports. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and I hope to see you around. So, if you guys have a chance, feel free to scroll down and hit the subscribe button. Thank you.